less expensive, and more powerful. If you are interested in doubling or tripling your income based on your personal brand, we're going to cover the fastest growing brands, businesses, services, and product companies that are being launched off of the personal brands on YouTube. Never has there been a better time when you look at the AI, when you look at algorithms, and get the rise of the personal brand to not only grow any single business imaginable and dramatically change your financial situation, but more importantly, to reach the people that you want to impact the most. Now, it doesn't matter if you are trying to get the best clients to chase you, customers, or patients. In today's episode, I'm going to cover exactly what I show my highest paying clients, what we use for our dental practices to attract the best patients to come in pre-qualified, our service-based clients, and also what we use with our high-paying experts to have the best clients chasing them. So I'm Ed O'Keefe. Welcome to the show, and let's dive in. The 5 biggest trends happening right now in our world is allowing so many of these guys to make gajillions of dollars. You obviously know who Mr. Beast is, right? So Mr. Beast is a guy who a bunch of years back decided just to post every day on YouTube. And you can actually see all the different videos he's made for the last, I think, 10, 12 years. And I mean, my gosh, this guy's now, they say he's worth over $10 billion. He's got over 343 million subscribers off of 841 videos. And what's really cool is even recently, he's launched a brand new Amazon show that he was paid reportedly over $100 million to do the first season. And I believe they already have the second season scheduled. What's even crazier is I didn't even really know who Mr. Beast is. One of my 7 kids brought him up to me a couple of years back, and he launched his chocolate bar company off of his personal brand. Now, you're going to see this is the trend, right? So not only is he making, they said around $83 million in the past couple of years just from YouTube alone, but his net worth, when you look at all of his companies, is reportedly over $10 billion. And this is all just from posting on YouTube, right? So look at the views on his videos, 38 million views 3 days ago, 145 million views 3 weeks ago. Old philosophy of, you got to sell your product. You got to go through mainstream media. Mainstream media is completely dead. And this new wave of entrepreneurs that are utilizing social media and algorithms like YouTube to grow their businesses has never been easier, less expensive, and more powerful. And so you look at Logan Paul. Logan Paul reportedly, I think he made $18 million last year. His company that he launched off the back of his podcast and his video company that they post videos, him and his brother Jake, I'll talk about Jake in just a minute, is reportedly over $1 billion valuation, or it's on its way to it. And they're competing head to head with Gatorade. Now, again, this is one of those crazy things, guys, that I didn't even know what Prime was until my kids brought it up to me. I was like, what are you drinking? Oh, I want a Prime. I want a Prime. So when I looked into it, I was like, okay, this is another sugary drink with a lot of caffeine in it. And then I didn't realize that Logan Paul was actually the founder of it, and he built a partnership out of it, which you're going to see another theme on that as well. Then here's his brother. Have to bring his brother back. So Jake made more money than Logan did last year. Now, if you've been following all the craziness that he's been doing with his promotions with boxing, I don't know exactly how it all works with him and his brother, but man, these guys have done it right from the perspective of building an audience, getting attention, and then promoting whatever they want to promote, and then pointing that audience to it. Now, that is the formula. Doesn't matter what business you're in. Doesn't matter if you're doing a personal brand and you're trying to sell information products. Doesn't matter if you're a loan officer, a real estate agent, and you're trying to get listings or people to come to you. At the end of the day, your job is to get the attention through content and through messaging that actually makes a difference in the people's lives who you're trying to impact the most and get them to come towards you. So that's Jake Paul. Now, Joe Rogan, one of my favorites, love his podcast, but he's another one. I mean, Joe was, I don't want to say he's an average actor, but he was a decent actor, good comedian. And, his story on how him and Dana White got reconnected from the old boxing days. Dana was in the boxing. Joe has always been a long-term jiu-jitsu practitioner, kickboxing, bad dude. And I think one of the coolest things that he did with his personal brand is he just started doing the podcast so many years ago, and he started interviewing people that he was interested in talking to. And then because of his audience and attention, and it turns out people like listening to cool people. People like listening to topics and things that actually they're interested in, right? It could be anything. It could be volleyball, because that's one thing obviously I'm interested in. It's something we talk a lot about. It could be coaching. It could be marketing, copywriting. It could be with financial services, whatever it might be for you. Your audience, there's an audience that's out there that would be happy to not only listen to it, but then we're trying to make money by attracting and increasing our reach to get the people who are most likely to buy from us, stick with us, refer to us, and spend money with us. You see what I'm saying there? So that's the goal of it. So Alex Hormozi, for the business guys out there who've seen Alex, I mean, Alex and his wife have just really become household names in the certain category of business, make money at home, make money in your different types of businesses. Gosh, they're founders of acquisitions.com, but they got their whole start in his first business. I mean, dead broke. Gym Launch is the name of the company. He started figuring out a way to fill up gyms, started doing a coaching club, and he ended up, I think, exiting it for like either 16 million or 32 million. I'm off my numbers a little bit there. Launched a supplement business on the back end of that. And since then has really used his personal brand. He uses personal brand to sell all those memberships. So there's a little bit of one-to-one, and then it became one-to-many when he grew to all the different gym memberships. And now that he had the audience and he had their attention, private equity wanted to acquire it. So again, you're going to see that as a key theme. And these platforms nowadays, algorithms nowadays, with wanting to syndicate the content that you produce and get it to the right people, is going to reward the person who's creating value in the market space for the people who need the content, right? So I think I made this slide a bit ago, and it was, his business or his personal net worth shot up from 100 million to 200 million. That's what he said on stage about a year ago. I believe that it's probably not only increased by another third, it might have even 2x or 3x at the rate and pace that they're doing that. And so he went all in, which really grabbed my attention, because when you hear guys that are traditionally mostly media buying strategists as far as acquiring customers, like they utilize media buying, paid ads as the main tool of acquiring clients, that have switched over to spending as much time, effort, energy, and money on getting content into the different platforms. It really grabs my attention, because that means that if they're doing it, there must be a clue on that one, right? And so that's Alex Hormozi. Now, I've shared this before, but Kylie Jenner's another one. I think she reached over the $1 billion mark over a year or two ago, very, very young, age of 22, 23, took her personal brand, started a cosmetic brand, and boom, there you go. I think your sister has a very similar story, multiple 9-figure brand that, again, just under $1 billion. Maybe it was crossed it at this time, but off their personal brand. And then they were able to make partnership deals and make that happen. A competitor to Spanx, which I'm going to talk about that in a second, actually. Now, this is somebody I never heard about. Emma Chamberlain supposedly made 20 million last year, and I checked out her channel. There is absolutely nothing that would interest me on that channel, right? Which really goes to the point that if somebody is getting 3.9 million views, a channel that has videos called Fashion Week, Naked Truth, Hair Theory, or Silly Girl Summer, and she's able to then create a partnership with a coffee brand and launch it. Now, the full story goes something like this. With no experience building a company, nor a high school or business school degree, or experience in food and drink industry, she went to her team at United Talent Agency to help her find a roster of seasoned veterans to launch a startup. They partnered with LA-based roastery Bixby Coffee to create one limited edition, this is really crazy, blend for a beta launch. Super smart way to grow a business, actually. Within 24 hours, more than 1 million viewers clicked on the company's website, and the batch sold out. That's all off of, I think they're leaving out the part that she promoted it on her channel, and then that generated that much viewers, went there, the entire batch sold out. Then they, as she says very intelligently, we partnered with them to basically do a proof of concept. We wanted to make sure that this was something that my audience was interested in, that there was a Gen Z market, which is obviously a younger market than my market. But this is brilliant, and this is a great way to launch something. The biggest mistakes I've ever made in my business have always come from when I try to launch products before there's been an audience that wanted to buy them, right? and then you spend all this time, effort, energy building out a product, and then you're trying to match it to an audience. It's kind of the backwards way of doing it. And so here's more top YouTubers of 2024. Let me see if I can click on this real quick, or stop this. We'll go here. And then this is the list of them. Now, the reason I want to share this with you is because I find this kind of crazy in the sense that these are how people are making money. And I've never heard of most of these people. So I've already covered Mr. Beast, Jake Paul, and then this dude here, Markiplier. No idea who he is at all. So supposedly he's got t-shirts, hoodies, and other items tied to his brand. $38 million last year is not too bad. Rhett and Link, no idea who these two guys are. Probably don't know if I'd be able to last more than 5 minutes having a cup of coffee or a drink with them. I'm kind of kidding, guys. But you see what I'm saying? Like, they have something different. They're eating Crunch bars. They have stuff in the background. Let's see here. When started to do it, blah, 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 boosting their kitchen, Mythical Kitchen, a cooking series. I mean, these guys could launch a lot of brands on the back end. So I'm not going to read each one of them. It get kind of boring. There's some kid stuff. Those are more entertainment things. You wouldn't want to model those types of business channels or those channels if you are a service-based business or you are trying to educate and attract your best type of clients too. Does that make sense? So you'd want to do something that's more along the lines of just going out and creating good, valuable content for the right people that you're trying to reach in a way that makes them feel that you are the right person for them to be doing business with. Okay. Now, this is another little strategy. So this is Sarah Blakely, married Jesse Itzler. I've met Sarah multiple times, had her speak at one of my events. Sorry, guys. 1 second. Had her speak at one of my events. And the thing about Sarah that's pretty amazing is, like, she launched Spanx, just sold it for over $1.2 billion to Blackstone, I think a couple years ago. Pretty impressive, amazing, pretty impressive. Listen to me, very impressive. But one of the things that, like, Sarah did is not only was it her personal brand to, like, get things started, she hustled and grinded, and then she leveraged somebody else's personal brand. Well, who? Well, the biggest influencer at the time was Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey had the Oprah Winfrey Show. Oprah Winfrey fell in love with Spanx. Oprah Winfrey, within, I think, 6 months of going live with that, actually endorsed it, and boom, Sarah was hit the radar of all her ideal customers, and off to the races she was, right? And so this is my buddy Josh Snow. Josh, if you don't know Josh Snow, his real name is Josh Alizeche, but he founded Snow Teeth Whitening, and he's spoken at many of my events. Josh is one of the smartest guys you'll ever meet, and his whole strategy is, how do I go find the audience? And then how do I go find influencers who have my audience? And how do we get them to promote my business, period, right? And that was really where you get so much user-generated content. You get so much social proof. You get all the things that's the new thing. It wasn't there years ago. We only had 3 channels, 2, 5, 7, 9, 32. I guess there's a few more than that. And this is Cara Golden. Cara Golden's another one that, launched Hint Water based on a problem she was trying to solve for herself. And that's one of the most powerful things. So the big trend that is happening, which should really grab your attention, to really pay attention to this and say, like, look, if I have any type of business and I am not posting content that is valuable, I'm missing opportunity, not only to attract more customers, clients, and patients, but it's also the ability to get your existing base of audience that knows you, spends money with you, has spent money with you, to get back on their radar and have them realize that they should be spending more time, effort, energy with you, and refer to you and increase their value over a lifetime with you. But because, like Disney even says it, statistically, the reason why most people leave businesses is because of, what's it called when you go apathy, meaning they're not mad at you. They just become out of sight, out of mind. It's not a feeling anymore. And so they go elsewhere. So this is another great way to do that. Now, the trends that are just making this really powerful is that YouTube is literally taking over TV. What's powerful about that is now you don't normally go get cable, you get YouTube TV. Now, the reason I always share this, especially with local businesses, but this is really true with experts, and nationwide experts or worldwide experts, and you don't really have to convince them of this, is that if people see you on YouTube, not only are they there to either listen to their podcast, get problems solved by searching for questions that they're looking for answers for, but now YouTube is known as a TV channel, okay, as a TV platform. And so if that's the case, then you purely creating content on those places immediately elevates you over people that are not doing that. And one of the first things people always ask, like, well, how do I get more high quality leads or customers or whatever into my business, my practice, whatever it might be? The reality is that you got to educate them and increase their IQ as to the value that you're providing and what they're missing by not being a part of it. And you do that by creating content. And I'll tell you a little bit about what types of content in a minute. So we covered rise of the personal brand. You can see it in any category, any business, anything. Just type in a question of a problem that you're looking for. Somebody is making money solving that problem for somebody. Okay. So if I asked you, like, what are problems that you could solve? If I just was sitting here asking you a couple questions, like, what are you passionate about? And how did you get passionate about it? And what do you do for a living? How did you get phenomenal at it? And what are the most commonly asked questions that your best clients, patients, and customers have? And in a matter of 30 seconds, 3 minutes, you're going to have a list of things that people are searching online. Many ways to do research on this. I'm giving you the 20-second version of it, so to speak, right? And so when you look at the rise of the personal brand, you look at the death of the traditional media, which means now the new media is online. And you look at the rise of these, 6.9 billion YouTube users. I shot one video the other day that in the first 5 days had over 100 hours of watch time. Isn't that insane? And that's not even a lot compared to people online right now. But that means that my video, short video, was watched for 100 hours. So is it possible that some of the best clients, customers are going to come off of that video and are more likely to buy or less likely to buy when they're done with that? And the fact of the matter is they're going to be more, right? So now you have AI automation, which the reason why that's important is because AI and automation is going to allow you to produce content, edit the content, get it up on these search engines very, very rapidly with a matter of different, a few clicks of the button and a little bit of knowledge. And then you can go from selling to maybe a one-on-one scenario to selling and reaching many. So we have clients and companies we work with that right now, literally the thing they used to do one-on-one where they have 8 appointments in a day, we're now able to go reach, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands in a day using content and maybe even a little bit of micro budgets, but we rock and roll with it. Now, how do you become an authority on it? So one of the models we use is what I call the authority funnel. Really, really simple. So we take YouTube videos, we stack them on top of each other where we have an authority funnel that we have it live and breathe on YouTube, okay? The other model we use on that is we send them to an interview that we structured, that we created, that we did. And you're saying, like, well, Ed, why did we do that? Well, let me show you a couple examples. So this was Dr. Bill Blatchford. Bill hired me. He came in and he hired me for a day of consulting. He has a $65,000 coaching package, really big ticket, right? He solves a lot of big problems for his clientele. The thing about it, though, is that what the biggest problem they're facing is, like, look, we always have cold leads. Well, and I asked, well, like, what are you doing before they get on the phone with your salespeople? And the answer was really not much. Sometimes they buy a book or sometimes they buy a PDF, but they really weren't being warmed up and educated. And I said, hey, Bill, why don't I just interview you and you can use that as the main sales tool? And the other thing is guess what? You could put it up on YouTube. You could do all these things with it. And this was the rule became, and this is actually a great way to use both YouTube and email in order to grow your YouTube channel, qualify the best buyers for you, and get better buyers into your business. It's a very, very smart, better buyer strategy. But one of the things is that the salespeople were now told, don't go into a sales pitch unless they've already watched this interview. Why? Because he could sell it better than anybody else can. And with this kind of thinking, you don't have to be perfect at selling because you're helping and educating people so much that by the time they come to you, you can be an average salesperson and still do very, very well. And when I say salesperson, it could be whatever you're in, but you're only speaking, or your business is only speaking to people that are already consuming your content. Now, the reason why we do the interviews, and this is Jeff Hampton. He was an attorney, helps with private equity or asset protection. This is Dr. Rick Dunn, one of our dental clients that we use. And what's crazy about this is the most important thing is that we're able to take the content and turn it into questions that people ask. That's super, super important. Because if you're going to do video, if you're going to try and attract people, we only want to be spending time, effort, energy, and money on doing things that are actually going to create value for the people that we want to create value for. Okay. if I have, what's better, 100 views of people that watch 20 minutes of one of my videos, or 10,000 views of people that have watched on average like 90 seconds? Well, I can already tell you that I'd rather take the 100 that have watched 20 minutes, because those are the people that are most likely to have a problem that we can solve, right? And they're going to come spend money with you. Now, this is Roland Fraser. So he was launching a program called Consulting for Equity. And we did it like an authority stack system, where we took video, took an interview, and we took a live workshop, virtual workshop, and we were able to stack all that together. Literally, in a matter of weeks, that business launched by doing $452,000 to an audience that was already aware of him, but they weren't aware of what he was doing. And so these are the types of things that you can do by simply deciding, hey, I want to position myself as the number one authority. I like to say as the only one, the only choice, right? Because authorities and specialists get paid a lot more money than generalists and Me Too type businesses, which brings me to Caleb. Caleb's a young guy, super, super bright, had a coaching club that he was charging $1,000 a month for, and he just needed a little clarity and guidance to get up and running. And then what I've found is that a lot of times with like experts, people that are very talented with their skill sets, and they've spent years and years and years developing those skill sets, they haven't spent a ton of time on crafting 35-minute sales messages, right? Which a lot of times when you're selling bigger ticket items, premium price items, it just takes a little more time. And so we just did an interview together. He launched to his audience. I think he sold at 28 in the first 30 days, maybe 20. And then he opened it back up and got 8 more in the next 15 days. So that's Caleb, and Caleb's awesome. All the credit to him, right? Now, the other leverage point tool, because I like talking about leverage, is what Tony Robbins is demonstrating right here, which is a one-to-many workshop, virtual. And this is a picture, I believe this was during the pandemic, because Tony, who has always done live in-person only things, had to quickly switch to a virtual model because everything was shut down. Why is that good for me and you? Because during the 2 years or whatever the amount of years, if you're in a certain states, you were shut down longer, unfortunately. In certain states, you guys never even realized the pandemic was going on. But the fact of the matter is people at home realized that it was okay to spend money and sit there from the luxury of their own house, and they were actually able to get the same, well, maybe not the same value, but a lot of value, right? And so good news for you and I is you could take your YouTube channel, your Instagram channel, your LinkedIn channel, where you build content, and you could use it as another platform that you're able to do one-to-many communication, just like I'm doing right now. I use a tool called StreamYard. You could see a link probably in my comments where I'll link to it if you want to try it out yourself. And it allows you to literally get connected to 5 different social media platforms all at once. And you could be really well structured. Like, this is a presentation. You don't need a presentation. Sometimes at my channel, you'll see me do it on our vibe board where I'll just draw. There's guys, Alex Harmozy does a great job of just using even paper. So you can keep it super simple. You could use a phone. I mean, this does not have to be high tech in any way, shape, or form. Okay. But being aware of all this, of what's possible, allows you to reach more people in a way that fits your personality more. So I already talked a little bit about live streaming and posting, right? So that's one of the steps that we want to get you to start doing. And I'd encourage you to do, host a free workshop. What I'm doing right here on this could easily just be a free workshop, right? Virtual, you could do it in person, doesn't matter. But the key is that you could take this type of virtual workshop model and then do a presentation, talk about whatever you're passionate about, and that would create value for other people. And then you could then edit that entire video presentation. You don't have to worry about if people showed up or not, because the fact of the matter is that most 80-something% of the population are going to watch your stuff after it's being posted anyway. So you could edit it using a couple of tools I'll talk about in a minute, and you could be up, rocking and rolling. Now, I think if you are an expert and you want to be position yourself as an expert, you should be hosting a consistent podcast. Why? Because it's too easy not to, or it's too easy to, and it is too easy not to. But because that's how our population actually chooses their experts. Now, quick little story is, I think one of the stories I want to share with you is like when our daughter was sick for a few years, she had Lyme disease and long COVID. My wife and I probably were listening to 1 to 2 podcasts a day because that's how we did all our research. We were looking at who are the leaders in this, and then we were bouncing around from podcasts that we could find answers from, because there weren't answers at our doctor's office or traditional methods, right? And so if you don't have content at all, somebody who might be less qualified than you is going to be winning the clients that you are ignoring because you're just not doing this. Okay. So it's not difficult. It's super easy. And then webinars and workshops. So we'll go over that in a little bit later. I don't want to make this too complicated in the beginning. Now, the big question is like, why are we doing all this, right? And so this could have been like the second slide that I showed you. But the reality is the reason why you want to elevate your personal brand and you want to hijack what these guys are doing, like Mr. Beast, Alex Hormozy, the Logan Paul, Jake Pauls of the world. The reason why you got to look at what they're doing and understand really what's going on behind the scenes is all they're doing is building audience that they point in a direction where they monetize. Okay. So like Alex Hormozy fills out his $5,000 workshops. I think they're running those every single month now. And it's super, super simple for them. And the coolest thing is by the time somebody watches an hour-long video of theirs, goes through their application funnel, that person's trying to get in there. They're not selling them. It's easy to do it. Here's the other thing is they're called acquisitions.com. They're trying to buy and acquire companies. Well, they're getting paid to acquire leads, to acquire businesses. Does that make sense? They're gonna go to the training. They're gonna pay $5,000 for it. Alex and his team are gonna install all the systems that are required. While they're there, they're gonna start learning about what it looks like if they were ever to take on investment, and if they fit those criteria. Well, Alex and his wife and his team have the audience right in front of them. They have a new audience, the most qualified people to try and acquire, right? And so there's so many ways you can do this, but if you're not in the game, you're not doing it, you're missing opportunity. And I'm not beating up on you, but I am encouraging you and kind of giving you some loving nudge to just get in the game at some level. And this is a great slide that really shows that generalists always they're price shopped. They're not seen as authorities. In dentistry, when I work with my dental clients, we always promote dental implants and sleep apnea first. Those are my 2 things because those are big big niches. They're profitable. There's a lot of people out there with the problem, and there's a lot to educate them about, right? So while other people aren't doing that, we can qualify, educate, and build filtering systems on funneling them towards us, but also simultaneously funneling some people away from us, if that makes sense. I don't want people that aren't qualified. I don't want people that aren't educated. And if they don't have the money to spend on your services or your things, and you're expensive and you're a premium price offer creator or service provider, then your job is to filter, sift, sort, and screen out people that don't belong there and only attract the people that you want to be doing business with, right? Now, when you look at this, as you go up the level, you see specialist, you see authority, and then at the top, you see celebrity. Now, when I say celebrity, I'm not talking about you're like, I was going to say Will Smith level, but that would be kind of weird. I don't even know if he's come out of hiding after he smacked what's his face in the face. But, like if you're not, super famous like Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about that locally. You've built up know, like, and trust on autopilot. And I'm going to tell you there's like so many hacks on this, right? The reason we do interviews with people is because the person that's interviewed is the expert. If you went to a live event and somebody was on stage, you'd assume they're the expert. If they write a book, you'd assume they know what they're talking about, right? And when we do these things, when we have a platform like YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and you create videos like I'm creating right now, you immediately are creating your own stage and people are immediately coming to it, right? And so if they stick with you and they enjoy what you're doing and they want to be a part of it, well, guess what? Now you're building your own audience. You're building your own attention. It may take time. It may not take a lot of time. Who knows, right? But the fact of the matter is that no stages are not manufactured. So let me explain what that means by that. So even years and years and years ago, like what they'd say about Steve Jobs and Apple is like he created the story, the stage, and then the product. And if he didn't have the story and he didn't create the stage and if he didn't have those two things, the product without those things doesn't allow him to build the audience. The opposite of that is true as well. If you have the audience and you have a product, but you're not getting on stage and you're not telling the story, the four things are not going to get aligned and connect. Okay. Now, this is kind of crazy too. This came out from a recent research that Google actually reported. And it said, it's called the 7, 11, and 4 concept, which is that people need 7 hours of content consumed of yours before, or just whatever, before they make a big decision. So I'll give you, so you might think like, what? I don't have 7 hours of anything. Well, yes, you do. You might just not know about it yet. Like when Gary Vee started doing the videos for his dad's wine store, which I think was only $1 million or whatever it was a year. And then within a couple of years, they were doing 60 million a year. Now Gary's one of the most well-known social media experts in the world, has businesses that are multi-9-figure businesses off the backs of him doing this in a completely less, and he's still out there. You could search him today, Gary Vee, and he's still teaching amazing stuff on social media. But back then, I think he just had like a phone or whatever he was doing. And all they did was talk about wine. They talked about sports. They talked about whatever he was passionate about. And over time, people either like him, don't like him, but the people who like him probably love him. And they keep consuming your content and they keep coming back. So here's the thing. The other thing I want to share, one of my clients, the guys over at Oakleaf Community Mortgage and Bank, I mean, these guys are awesome. Joe, Phil, the whole team there, they have a unique product. It's called Buy Now, Sell Later, which is a product that if somebody is trying to buy a home, but they're in their house, well, they're considered contingent. In a market like this, where there's going to be low inventory, super high demand, when interest rates come down, that is going to be one of the most powerful products that anybody's going to need to know. Every agent in the Chicagoland area should have it as another quiver or another arrow in their quiver or whatever that phrase says, right? But there's always that believability thing. And there's a thing that's called commitment and consistency. Cialdini talked about it in his book Influence, right? If you're consistent and you show commitment, and it could be virtual that this happens, when the timing is right, that person is going to trust you above all everybody else, right? Now, the other thing is that 7, 11, and 4, what that means is 7 hours of content, 11 minimum touches. I've heard it's higher now, like 19 to 39, honestly. And then 4 different platforms, right? So they see you in email, they see you on Facebook, they see you on YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Now, as you grow your personal brand, I mean, the rule of thumb, honestly, though, is you really want to focus and get clear and clean on the channels that you're doing properly. So we'll talk about that on what to say, how to do it in another show that's coming out very, very soon. But what to promote. Now, so like you can promote anything. So I'm going to start in the middle here. I love live events. I love getting face-to-face, and I love leverage, right? And so what do I mean by that? So when I say leverage, I'm talking about, how do we get your one message in front of many people? So you tell your story, your whole sales pitch, whatever it might be, and you're able to do it at one time. Now, I can tell a ton of stories like this. So we used to teach a concept called the $100,000 day in dentistry, where all we did was we taught them how to flood their practice with an open house, give everybody like a free Invisalign and cosmetic evaluation. And a certain number of those people who came for the open house went forward with treatment, right? Now you could take conditions like sleep apnea or dental implants, and you could do free lunch and learns. Now, it's not only in those places, because we're doing it in the mortgage space as well. And I have a friend who does it in the stem cell space every week across multiple cities throughout the country. So your question you should ask yourself is, how do we get people to environments where I am extending my stage, right? Extending my stage. And see here, if I can share my screen real quick. Boom. Oh, there it is. Okay. Extending my stage and getting to know people on a visceral level. Now, if you're an expert, your goal would be to have a book at some point, a book, pricing guide. What do you need to know before you buy X guide? Something like that. Challenges are another thing. If you have something that makes an immediate impact in people's lives, whether it's weight loss, health, money, debt, anything, any kind of end result, if you could point to an end result, doing a 1-day to 5-day challenge is one of the best ways that you can build trust with your clients and and really make an impact with people. So, hey guys, by the way, if you've been here this long, can you do me a quick favor? And if you're liking what you're seeing, either comment in the comments of a question you have so that I can build off this episode. And definitely please click like this or click and subscribe so that I know that we're doing the right thing and I can make sure that we're continuing to create value for you as we move forward through this journey of building up our site and utilizing the algorithms throughout the different platforms. Okay, I totally appreciate it. And so the other thing you may be asking at this point is like, Ed, well, what do I talk about? What do I say? Where do I start? How do I position myself? I suck on camera. What if I'm not techie? Where do I post? I'm not like those YouTubers. And now the one thing I would just share with you is that the most successful people at all this stuff are just solving a problem that usually was a problem for themselves. And so, if you go in your market and you just type in a question of something that you're passionate about or you have a problem about or something you solve, you're going to quickly find people throughout the country that already are doing what I'm suggesting you do in your market, but you're just not there. And so we want to get you there, right? And so all of these things are easy things to teach. And so in our next episode up here, on the next video that we're going to be doing, I'm going to share what to say to get the best clients and patients and customers, biggest buyers, best buyers chasing you, and how to structure content. Because the thing is that knowing what to say has usually just three, and you want to get clients, customers, and patients that are closer to buying from you. You want to get best buyers that aren't even aware that they have a problem yet. And those are different types of content that we can do. We want to align what you got going on perfectly and make sure that what we're talking about and how we're doing it is aligned with where you want to take people and where you want to be in your goals, your personal brand, your personality, your value system, the freedom you want, the life you want, whatever that might look like. Like I have a really good friend that goes around interviewing volleyball coaches and players. And I was telling her, I'm like, you really just got to get on really learning how to syndicate your content, because there's so many people that are beyond your local friend group that don't even know you yet, that once they experience you, they're going to be lifers. And so you don't even know what you might want to sell to them in a few months or promote. But having that audience, having that attention, having the consistency, and you being positioned as the expert, the go-to person really is the future, guys. I'm just telling you that right now. And, I talked briefly earlier, and this will be the last thing we talk about. We'll wrap this up today, is YouTube makes money the longer their people on YouTube are on there. And so the longer they watch, the more money they make. It shares on AdSense revenue with people like myself who actually create these things. It's not a lot of money at first. So you got to have a business alignment with it, right? But they want to keep people on it. So the way they keep people on it is making sure that the problems that the experts are solving gets shown to the people who are on the platform who have that problem, whether they're searching for it, whether they're clicking on other videos similar. So if you can solve a problem, and if you find yourself already having these one-to-one conversations or one to small groups or whatever, you're not posting on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram minimally, you're missing the ability to bring your best buyers into your business. Okay. And so on the next video, I'll talk about like how we actually can structure content to position yourself as the number one authority or the only one to choose in that market space, and how to do it in a fun way. So like, it's not hard. It's super simple. You're just being yourself. And what I will tell you is that you're going to attract people who want to do business with you. So you don't need to be anyone fake. You don't need to be anything different. You don't need to be super techie. You don't need to be perfect on camera. You don't need the cool lights in the background. Like you could start it. There's so many examples of people. For every few people you see with the highest tech stuff, there's also people doing it with like literally an iPhone and a closet. They're in their closet because it's the best soundproof room in their house, right? And so hopefully you like this. When you decide that you want to make more impact and make more money by reaching out and attracting more of your best buyers, and you want to hijack the personal branding secrets of the billionaires and the decamillionaires and the personality brands that are just going from nothing to launching $1 million brands and businesses on the back end of it, and you can promote other brands. But once you decide, hey, Ed, I'm going to do this, make sure you're on this channel because this is what we're devoted to. We're going to be growing this big time this year, multiple channels, multiple niches, and testing a lot of cool things. So that's it. Thanks so much for watching the show. Please leave a comment. Make sure you subscribe so we get the next episode about AI, what to say, and how we're really growing our audience this year. So want to help you. Appreciate you. And we'll talk soon, guys. Thanks. Bye.